Good to meet you all. And let me just share my screen. I created some visuals for you. And let's go ahead and talk leadership and how to lead in times of adversity. Well, thanks again for inviting me. I hope that this presentation brings you some insight, especially, if you have, I don't think, I think that Tony does, but also as a restaurant owner, you might work with a group of people because we'll look deep into how leadership looks like in times of crisis. I am a coach, trainer, and speaker, leadership coach, trainer, and speaker with the John Maxwell team. And I'll tell you a little bit of our Maxwell DNA, right? Because that's the good stuff. That's what we share with other people. John Maxwell is one of the authorities of leadership. He's been out for hundreds of years, and I'm just kidding. He's still alive. He's 70 something, and he has written over 100 books on personal growth and leadership and teamwork. So I don't know if you're familiar. Can you raise your hand or raise a thumb up if you're familiar with John Maxwell? Okay, so you guys know about him. Good. There's over 30,000 coaches, certified coaches around the world. I have the privilege to be one of them. And the Maxwell DNA stands for modeling consistency, adding value to people, right? That's what we do. And if we do that throughout our life, we're going to get what we want. Like Zig Ziglar said, right? Help people get what they want and they'll help you get what you want. So that's what we do. We add value. We exceed expectations. We willfully how to do it with others, live intentionally, equip them, and lead and lift other people. And it is a privilege to do so. It is definitely my passion to bring other people, like lift them into what leadership means. Leadership is everything. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And it's so important to just gather some skills, some strategies that can help us become better leaders, starting with ourselves, with self-leadership, which is one of the most important, if not the most, levels of leadership. So this was me prior COVID. Prior this crisis, I would do leadership trainings in different parts of the world. This is Costa Rica. This is Silicon Valley in California. And it was good. I was actually enjoying a great time because like my planner was like almost every month I had a gig somewhere, and I would go and do conferences or trainings. But then this happened, and I got canceled and postponed, and the events keep being postponed. So I had to pivot my business. It was all live trainings that I would do. So I didn't have a bulletproof business for COVID. And I had to do, like Tony said, I went online. I went online for offering my digital products, and I created online courses. I created a leadership academy. And it was, to me, a moment of adversity that it propelled me out of my comfort zone into my creative zone. And that's what, so this was me again. That's what we do as leaders. How can we turn that adversity into our advantage? And something that's always, leading my life, it's that perspective changes everything. We can look at the crisis and look at it as, how long will this last? What am I going to do with, any kind of adversity? We're talking COVID, but any kind of adversity, there's two perspectives, and there's going to be victims and there's going to be victorious. Those victorious people are the ones who really think, okay, what can I do better? How can I improve because of this situation? And really, what is this coming to teach me, show me? And I know that many of the companies with this kind of mentality are the ones who will survive COVID, who will thrive with COVID. And those who are thinking and who have that view of, this is not gonna go anywhere. This is those leaders who are not used to lead in times of adversity. And if you have a business for over 5 years, you know that there's good times and there's more challenging times. And this was definitely a big one. How we view things will change things. Like Wayne Dyer say, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at will change. So actually, Albert Einstein said that in the middle of adversity, it's where opportunity lies. Not like at the beginning of the period of adversity or challenge, because we're overwhelmed by the situation. And by the end, it's too late. If we're waiting to respond at the end of a crisis, it's too late. It's right in the middle where opportunity lies. And today we're going to look at, and since it's a small group, if we have a chance to intervene and share, just feel free to do so. I've got some questions for reflection. I always like to, during my trainings, just involve and encourage other people to also think and give their own points of view. So this is a presentation and also some time to share and to ask questions. And we're gonna look at defining crisis. We're going to look at the character of a leader during a crisis. We're going to look at what real leadership is within a crisis. And within each of those topics, there's going to be questions that we can reflect upon. Sounds good? All right. So what is really a crisis? A crisis will get us out of our comfort zone to our creative zone. We're all comfort, things are going well, everything is good, but a crisis reveals good leaders, identifies good leaders. John defines us as, we took all the coaches of John Maxwell, we took this training with him like in March, right at the very beginning. I think it was April, right? Like a little bit in the middle, but right at the beginning, because leaders show up first, right? If we think about it, a leader is a problem solver. A leader is the person who everyone is going to look at in times of trouble, in times of a problem, of a crisis. A leader needs to respond to that. So it's good to have strategies, skills, what to do, how to really talk to your team. In times of crisis, communication always needs to be the most important aspect in leadership. Like without communication, like how if I don't know, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are at, it's hard for me to help you. Communications and transparency within an executive team, it's key for the productivity of a company. Even research shows that the communication improves 10%, 15% of the productivity of an entire team, an entire company. But even more within a crisis. Like within a crisis, you as a leader need to be in constant communication with your team. You don't know what people are going through. They might be losing their house. They might be losing their literally everything. And, it's especially leading a company, we need to know what's going on within people's lives and how that will impact the productivity in the most important times of, the company. So John defines this as an intense time of difficulty requiring a decision that will be a turning point. And that's what crisis bring to companies, a turning point. Some companies are thriving, some other companies are struggling, some other companies disappeared. So as I said, a crisis will bump us from our comfort zone to our creative zone, and those who were not creative enough are struggling more. And sometimes I want to say this, it's not making a decision, right? Leaders are required to do that, to make decisions. But how do we handle that decision? What matters? So there's some questions that I would like to share with you for reflection. As I said, during my trainings, I like to involve the audience in thinking. Why do you think a crisis makes it easier to distinguish between good and bad leaders? What experience do you have in leading during a time of crisis? You want to take screenshots or picture of this, and you can also reflect later. How should leaders define reality in times of crisis? How should leaders communicate that reality to their teams? I'm going to talk about each of those questions, but I would like to hear, let's take 20, 30 seconds each to share. Otherwise, we're going to make Christian upset. He's going to have to go to bed very late. Oh, he's gone. He's not even here. He's here. He's laughing. So let's just maybe a couple of people, if you would like to share what your insights are on any of these questions.
Raise hand if you want to talk, so we know. I'm watching right now. Nobody? Let's, Mr. Troy. Okay, so let me see here. I don't see anybody with the raised hand.
Okay, so I'll go talk. So as I said, during a crisis, leaders will be identified. Leaders will show. Oh, Eugenia wants to say something. Go ahead, Eugenia. I'm trying to unmute herself.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Well, I believe that number one, why do you think a crisis make it easier to distinguish between good and bad leaders? Well, I believe a bad leader loses his temper, and instead of focusing on a solution, it goes ballistic. So that's a definitely bad leader, the way it approaches to problems, the way it behaves. That's definitely a sign of being a bad leader. That's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing such a great answer in such a short period of time. You are the best. Thank you, Eugenia. Absolutely.
We have one more. I'm sorry to interrupt. Troy wanted to mention something. Do we have time?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to piggyback on what she said about that, because it's a good topic for leadership, which is emotional intelligence, right? And emotional intelligence goes tight with good leadership. And leader who is emotional intelligent is able to first be self-aware of his or her emotions, then regulate those emotions. And then after I work on myself, then it comes that social awareness and that social regulation. So what you said, Eugenia, it's so important, because if we lose our temper, if we we really need to work on regulating and controlling those emotions. We cannot be a leader who loses their temper. That just doesn't work. Imagine, who's navigating the plane loses their mind, then where is the plane going to go, right? So I just wanted to mention that about emotional intelligence, and an author that I recommend for that. I'll always love to share books and authors. I think it's the best thing that we can feed our mind. It's Daniel Goleman and his book, Emotional Intelligence. I have it right here. It's a book that I recommend for leaders and for people in general like this. This is a great book, and he's one of the authors who first started talking about emotional intelligence.
Such a great book, guys. I actually read that myself, actually years ago before I got so involved in business. And just, yeah, it's such a fantastic book that it could really help you in so many different areas aside from business. So I also, recommend that book to you guys. I'll jot down the name of that there in the chat in just a second here. All right, Troy, I'm going to get you muted because I know you wanted to speak here for a second. You're unmuted, sir. I think you are. Let's see. Yeah.
Hi. Good evening, Carolina. You're doing a wonderful
Hi,
job.
Troy.
Yeah, one of the things that when I look at it in terms of leadership and in terms of crisis, many times I find a lot of leaders look to please the majority of people. But in the crisis is not just about pleasing people in terms of being democratic, but it's about making a decision that's going to be in the best interest of the team and the individuals. Because one of the things I have noticed is that there's a big difference between doing what someone wants you to do and doing what needs to be done for the benefit of those individuals, even when they're not in agreement with it. I guess it has a lot to do with my interests with military and the military side of leadership. When the commander says go, it's not whether or not the team wants to go, is that's the best decision for the team. And that is one of the things that I find that distinguish between, I don't want to say bad and good leaders, but I would prefer to say effective and poor leaders.
That's amazing, Troy. Thank you so much for that contribution, and God bless you. I love what you do, and absolutely. And not only especially in times of crisis, but a leader should never base their actions and their decisions on pleasing other people, because that's not, like you said, the benefit for the team, for the organization. However, because I don't please people, that doesn't mean that I don't help them or that I don't care about them. A leader should always care about their people, and that's the number one. In order to add value as a leader, in order to add value to people, I first need to value people. And how do you show that as a leader? I was working, I also do executive coaching, and I was working with the director of human resources of a company. She was telling me, Carolina, I just don't have, I'm like, how do you show that people, that you care about people? And she said, well, I just send weekly emails. I just make sure that things are going on well. I'm like, yeah, but how do you care about your people? Like, how do you show them that you care about them? Because we know that, that's when things are going to work well. So she didn't have a specific time to just walk around, say hello to people, and how is everyone doing? Just a conversation with them. She said, I don't have time. And I'm like, yes, you do have time. Let's look at your schedule for next week. This is not okay. So what can you delegate? What's not required of you that you can delegate into others, and that you can really invest just saying hello, just walking around the cubicles. How are they doing? Making a time in your schedule to care about them. And once, if we're able to do that with our people, just schedule time, seeing how they're doing, even with your coworkers, you never know when your next promotion is going to be. We always need to be ready for that. So if you are going to be promoted tomorrow, will your coworkers vote for that or not? Always caring and having a good environment with your coworkers. And so it was a huge difference. It was a huge difference. She did that. She committed to just schedule time on her agenda to just walk around and see how everyone was doing. And at the moment of making decisions, she was facing difficulties before because people were not following her. Guess what? Because she showed interest, genuine interest for others, the moment that she had to make decisions and lead, she had the yes of her people. Because people don't care what's going to happen unless they know. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that also happens with making decisions. So, all right, let's move on. So what does a crisis do? A crisis changes the balance of risk and reward. So there's the fear of failure, but what happens when we don't have any other choice, right? A crisis is just, we've got to make a decision. And as I said before, it's not always about what decision to make, but how to handle that decision. A crisis will increase our focus. We'll look at our priorities really well. And we start to evaluate what's really necessary. And a crisis reveals leaders. In the moments of most difficulty, again, one characteristic of good leadership is being problem solving. Actually, that's the quickest way to gain leadership, to solve problems. If you start in a position in a company and you start solving problems around you, above you, below you, guess what? You're going to be promoted. It's the quickest way to gain leadership, solving problems. And that's what good leaders do when it's the time of a crisis, really stepping up, showing up. And I'm going to show you how we can step up and show up in a second. How do we battle distractions during a crisis? Because these, like during a moment of adversity, of crisis, there's so many open horizons to look at. And leaders experience these three things: mind wandering, thinking about what could happen instead of focusing on what is really happening. Like sometimes, and we make this mistake until we become aware of it, and then we don't. But I lived a lot of years of my life prior to become aware of this fact, just thinking too much about the past, bringing, like all those past mistakes, past hurts, which will only bring me like, bad feelings and depressions. And sometimes just looking too much at the future creates anxiety. So really, what's in front of us at this moment? But what if that would happen? Yeah, but what is it happening now? We can't live, in the future. We need to work with what's at stake, with what's in front of us. And then a negative thinking, it's something that, we as leaders really need to control, because if that's what we experience as leaders, guess what? That's what we're transferring to our people. And if everyone is thinking negative in the company, I mean, like what's going to save us, right? And surely that in the case of, companies that are not doing so well and are struggling, because, there's so many reasons why, right? There's the processes, the systems, the industry, the product. Like, I'm not blaming on only negative thinking, but it has a lot to do. My company, it's called Rewire, because I believe that everything starts in our minds. And in order to win at life, we first need to win at our minds. So if we allow this negativity impact our daily actions, then that's what will show. And again, like this uncertain anxiety, thinking too much about the future, will bring more anxiety and will lead to not uncertainty. So some questions for reflection, and I would like to hear your answers because you guys are doing great. What are some good ways a leader can maintain focus during times of distraction? What are some good ways to combat anxiety and fear during these times of uncertainty? And have you ever experienced a leader who got distracted during a crisis, and how did that impact and, distracted, how did that impact the organization?
Yes, Lorenzo, I'm running to you right now.
Thank you very much. Just to contribute, thank you very much, by the way. One of the ways that I've seen that people looks at us as leaders is like, especially with what's going on, they look at us and see what we do, what we think. It's very important that we as leaders are focused on the result that we want to achieve. If it's a business, what we want to really create. Because if we start letting ourselves wander on whatever is happening with the virus and et cetera, then our people just following us towards that. So in my experience, that's a good way a leader can really maintain his focus now, is just focus on the result that he wants to create, whatever he wants to achieve. So his people is walking towards that as well.
Thank you for sharing that, Lorenzo. Absolutely.
Who else?
I think I see Eugenia with her hand up. Let me unmute Eugenia.
Hi. I learned recently from Magda. She last week she visited us and she said a lot of stuff that I how can I say? Well, right now I don't remember the word, but anyway, a phrase stuck with me, and it is making your values your compass. If you really want to be a good leader, make your values your compass. That's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, leaders that don't lead from a place of authenticity with real integrity and according to the values that they want to see in others, right? It's super easy to just tell other people what to do. Actually, leadership, that's what it is, right? Leadership is results through others. We can produce more, 100, a billion times more through other people than we can do ourselves. And that's the beauty of leadership. And there's so many benefits of leadership, but there's a price to pay. And this is one of them. The price to pay is that you lead by example, that you say your words match your actions. And people who, like you said, Eugenia, don't follow their values, their moral, and sometimes make decisions based on their own interest and not the interest of the company, it's not sustainable. It is not sustainable to lead from a place of not being authentic. And sometime or the other, that leader just will fall. Absolutely. And
I also want that. It's me.
I think Eileen is talking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to answer number 2 because I have so many experiences in that area. But for me, action is enemy of fear. When there's fear, I know myself that that's where I need to stretch. That's the area of growth for me. If I am fear of something, that's the area that I need to lean into so I can grow more. So action is enemy of fear, and I usually focus on what can I do in this moment rather than what could go wrong. And yeah.
That's right.
I mean, that's how I navigate during those times. Because I mean, fear is just a made up thing, right? It's not real. It's just in your head.
It's not real.
It's just like that monster underneath your bed. It's not there. Just look it up. It's not there. There's nothing.
That's right. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
I do want to say 3 things about negative experiences, about adversity. And number one is that everyone has bad experiences. And this is something that we cannot avoid in life, right? And every company will face challenges. And, through that time is when we really grow. Another thing about bad experiences is that no one likes them. Who likes to have bad experiences? No one. But the third one is that some people decide to turn those bad experiences into positive ones. And that's really a choice that we have. Even if we see a behavior that is not okay of an employee, of someone that we supervise, we can turn that bad behavior into something positive if we are a good leader, right? Because leaders show compassion at some level of understanding, the motivations, the motives of others. So if you're experiencing that kind of behavior or that kind of, I would recommend you just go deep and really look into the problem. Where is that coming from? Why is it happening? Because when we do that, and I helped an executive once with this same thing, the same behavior was repeating, and it was repeating not in one person, it was repeating in several. So that's an opportunity of learning. Always, sometimes I win and sometimes I learn. And if I never fail because I don't take failure as a failure. I take the failure as an opportunity to learn, to grow, to get better, to be better prepared for next time it happens. So that will also be revealed through a crisis. It's an extremely amazing time of learning, of growing, of stretching, of empowering, of really looking at things with a positive mentality. That if we survive all this, I'm telling you, we will be much prepared for what's coming ahead of us. And the other thing I wanted to talk to you today about is the character of the person within a crisis. And look at this. Often we think that crisis forges character, but that's not true. Our choices shape our character, and a crisis simply reveals the results of those choices. A leader, an organization, it's a reflection of the action, of the decisions, of the actions that have happened in the past. So a leader who can adjust, who can adapt and really shift that mentality, and even that the character of the same leader, just change it. Being flexible, being adaptable. I want to talk to you about one of the books that John Maxwell has. This was released in 2019 February. I was actually part of the launching team, and this is a great book. Actually, I'll offer you a mastermind if you want to join me with it, about leaders and some shifts that we need to make in order to experience different results. I work with companies, especially senior leaders, with this book, because again, it's really wrong to think that because we've done the same thing the same way for years, we need to continue doing it in the future. We need to shift many aspects from them. One of the shifts that this book talks, and it's one of my favorites, is shifting from from an alarm clock to a career to calling. Instead of waking up to just the alarm, waking up to a calling. And of course, everyone who's here tonight, everyone in the WhatsApp group, I believe that we have a calling, right? We're working on a Sunday night. Instead of being watching Netflix or whatsoever, we're here getting together, masterminding about leadership, wanting to grow and get better. So That's pretty amazing, and I applaud each and every one of you who are here tonight and who are committed to these masterminds and to improve as people. And I am so happy to see Linda here. Linda, what are you doing here? So good to see you, Linda. She's here. She's my friend, the one in blue in the picture. That's awesome. Some questions for reflection here. So what do you think a crisis is such an effective test of a leader's internal makeup? In your opinion, is a negative or a positive perspective helpful during a crisis? Well, that's kind of obvious, right? What are some signs that a leader should make a shift during a time of crisis? Go, Linda. Look, Tony's saying go, Linda. I wasn't able to unmute yourself.
Sorry, Linda. Hey, guys, if you want to say something, because I'm not seeing the hands raised, so just drop a number 1 in there, or just say, hey, I want to, and I'll unmute you. But yeah, let me go ahead and unmute Linda here.
I think she can speak now.
Let's see.
Hey, Linda.
Yeah, she's unmuted. You're on, Linda.
She's a Maxwell coach as well. And a DTM, a Toastmasters. This girl is running the show at Toastmasters. She is. For some reason, she's not able to speak.
Yeah, you're unmuted, Linda. You may have to unmute yourself from your end, but you're definitely unmuted here in the Zoom.
All right. I don't think she can speak. Anyone would like to share anything on these questions? Christian.
Oh, can we unmute Christian? Yep, you're muted, sir.
Yes, thank you. You see, the way I see it, I think that in any moment of crisis, you always see how people react, because you have the opportunity to react or respond to that situation. So most of the people in general, they are reacting because they just that the fear that comes into place and they react. And the leaders, they're the one to respond to that because they just stay cool. They think, they look at the situation, and then they come with a solution. That's why it's always that balance. Are you responding to the situation or are you reacting? And I would say, I don't want to sound like I'm cocky or anything, but I'll give you an example the way I reacted during the COVID. To be honest, I miss it because I was more productive during the COVID than I am now. I'm procrastinating now because I have the options to do it. But during the COVID, because there was nothing there, I was so focused, and I managed to, when even the leadership team from the business I work with, they were shrinking their funds, and they were putting people on furlough, or changing the way the business was working. I was going the other way around. I started hiring people, and I was looking to generate more business and looking how I can bring more business within the business. And I also opened up 2 businesses. I actually invested more money in the last 4 months in me and the business than in the last 2 months after the COVID was in UK was now more released. So it's how you see it, how you perceive it, how you like I said in one of my comments earlier, was look at every positive in the negative and focus on that small things. And I encourage my team to say just to share every win, regardless how small it was. I say, look, I don't want to see my policy when we have like a WhatsApp chat and we always discuss during the day, and we say, everybody knows it's no negativity allowed in that chat. And when somebody comes with a negative, you can see them commenting. I know Christian was saying no negativity, but I wanted to say this. And I'll come back and say, what do you think you can get from this thing? That's how I perceive it. Always find the best. Like W. Clement Stone was saying, in everything that's good, because you learn something from it. So that's what defines which one is the leader and which one is the follower. Obviously, sometimes you need to be a follower and you need to be a leader in the same time. But
right,
in order to be a great leader, you need to be a great follower.
exactly.
So you need to know how to make that balance and look, like I said, respond rather than react.
Mm-hmm. I love that, because you definitely set the tone there, and you know that's what we should do whenever there's new people, you know, coming in our company. I just don't understand how there's companies that don't invest time in training their people on, you know, the values, the culture. It's so important. People don't care so much about, you know, like statuses, state status. Sorry, my English. But really about what's in it for me, what's in it for like my development within a company. And we know that people don't leave companies, people leave people. So it's amazing that you do that, and congratulations on doing that with your team, setting the tone and just really training them on how to turn in that adversity into something positive. That's awesome.
Great stuff, Christian. Thank you. I'm gonna see if we can unmute Linda, because I see her back back on the call here. Let me.
Oh, she's twice now. Huh.
We see double.
We see double.
Yeah, let me try the other profiles here.
Linda?
Hey, Carolina, can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Woohoo!
So I was in on my phone, and that was part of the issue. I'm trying to leave on the other device so I don't get the echo. But you said that everyone responds to their calling, and that basically the people that are on the call tonight are people who are called to do something, and we're giving up our Sunday nights. So I was just saying to you that I heard you were on, and of course I couldn't miss it, because we're friends together, we're John Maxwell coaches together, we're Toastmasters together, and I just wanted to get in on some of the great knowledge that I knew you were going to share. So thank you for everything that you're doing for us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your words. It's my pleasure. You guys actually are making me a favor, because I love to share and talk leadership, and you're giving me the platform to do it. So I really appreciate it. And
that's awesome. That's awesome.
You're next.
Now, there was a question that you asked earlier, and the only contribution I would have made, you asked, how do leaders remain positive during a time of crisis? And one of the things that's very important, and that I'm sure that you and John would agree with, is that we need to surround ourselves with positive people. Crises tend to, some people get fearful and nervous, and they become very negative, and they don't believe that they can accomplish things. And if we can't turn them around, sometimes that can weigh on us as well. So we really need to look for people who are thinking like us, like-minded people, and put our heads together to come up with a solution to go forward, to take action, like someone else said on the call, because action is the enemy of fear. But we need to have support around us. We can't do it alone. And we need to do that. Sometimes it might mean cutting off a person that we've been friends with, or a relationship that is just pushing us in the wrong direction. They're not positive enough to work with us. So thank you so much for bringing this up and making us, focus on what we need to do in these times.
Great contribution, Linda. Thank you so much for sharing that. Absolutely, so important. And John always says, in times of a crisis, follow a leader. Don't follow a follower, because, we always need to look for those people who are more advanced than us in times of of crisis. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, and we have Lorenzo unmuted.
Well, Carolina, just very quick, reading your questions here, one thing that comes to my mind is something very powerful in every single leader, and it's how much of a cause you can be as a leader. And the first question, what do you think crisis is such an effective test of a leader internal makeup? Because, you know, if that leader is not really cause over the situation, well, maybe he's not to that point that really he can really defeat and confront whatever situation is happening. Now, the example that we can follow at this point is the virus. So if this virus is really shaking a leader, I mean, maybe he needs to do something more in his training, or just realize that he can handle that situation or any situation coming along. And the second one, in your opinion, is a negative or positive perspective helpful during a crisis? You know, for me, I think crisis would only help us. But unfortunately, if you go emotionally go down and go into fear and all that, you're totally being effect of it. So obviously you're affecting yourself, and you're going to affect your team, because your team is looking at you and see what you really do. So the last one that you have over here, what are some signs that a leader should make a shift during a time of crisis? Well, just as that. I mean, if a situation is not really, if the leader is not able to confront whatever situation that is, maybe he definitely needs to do something else to be able to get to the point of being really cause over anything that shows up on his path. Thank you, Carolina.
Yeah. Thank you, Lorenzo, so much. Great contributions to all.
And I think we had Growth Master as well that wanted to add something here. I'm just going to go ahead and meet them real quick here. Yeah, it's not letting me unmute. Let me try one more time.
Oh, I think he can go now.
Yeah. Growth Master, you are unmuted. Yeah, I think they put themselves back on mute. So
let's continue. So real leadership in crisis, what are some of the things? Showing up early with clarity and staying with hope, showing up with hope. When we show up early, it doesn't only mean like being on time, but really from a position of knowing what's going on, of really communicating that trust, that will build that trust in people. And I'll tell you that's what John thinks, what I think, and I'm sure that you all agree that the key element of leadership is trust. As I said before, leadership is results through others, but if there's no trust, there's not going to be any results. If there's only going to be I win and you lose, and then I win and then you lose, and then I win and then you lose again, you're going to stop playing. Like there's no relationship. Ciao. So really trust in a leader within times of crisis. It's what's going to hold the boat on surface. And that's why, you know, the leaders should develop that trust every day. Trust is something, right? We all know it takes so much time, effort, years to build trust, and then it's so quick to lose, you know, and trust. And John quoted here Andy Stanley in Showing Up with Clarity. A leader can afford to be uncertain, but they cannot afford to be unclear. We can be uncertain, not knowing what's going to happen, but we need to be clear on the situation at hand. What is it that we're going to do? And that would mean, you know, in times of adversity, that's what, you know, a leader's task is, really to think There's 5 things that John Maxwell does daily, and it's called the Daily 5, and there's a book about it. Every day he thinks. Thinking is such an important time of our day. Sometimes, people don't spend time thinking. That creative thinking that David Schwartz speaks about in his book, The Magic of Thinking Big, that creative thinking that allows us to really get better in the things that we do to improve our situations. Every day he thinks, every time he reads, reading, feeding our mind, every day he writes. Just writing is powerful. Putting the ideas on paper, it makes a difference when we write. It brings another perspective. Every day he files all those thoughts that we have. It's good to file them. And how did he get to write over 100 books on leadership and personal growth? Because he files. So if he wants to now get a book on teams, he has filed so many information, stories, facts, statistics that speak about teamwork, that it's going to be easy for him to write a book on teams. That's his little secret. Every day he files, and every day he asks questions. Asking questions is the best thing we can do. Not so much talking and more asking questions. Do that with your employees, with your coworkers, even with the people that lead you. If they're good leaders, they'll understand that you're asking questions. And good leaders ask great questions. That's another book that John Maxwell has. And it's a book with so many questions that really get you think how to improve your organization. It's another book that I've got right here. I just love books. So when we lead through adversity, a good leader stays in constant communication with their teams. This should always happen, but even more during times of adversity, of crisis. Delegate responsibility to other leaders. As we know the best goal of a leader is to develop other leaders, right? So this might be a great opportunity to delegate responsibility and see how other people lead through crisis as well. Good chance to develop other leaders this way. Be very deliberate in your thinking. Make sure your thinking and decisions are aligned with your values. Some questions for reflection here. Do you think leaders need to be a visible presence during times of crisis, and why? What ways does clarity from leadership matter during times of crisis? And what are the benefits to a leader delegating responsibility during a time of crisis? I don't know if anyone else would like to share question. But basically, that's what we've been just talking about, that clarity should matter more than anything, right? During a time of crisis, really where we're at, where we're heading to, why, we're taking the decisions that we're taking, and people feel more, they're gonna feel, they feel more involved when a leader, gives them just, this is why we're doing it. Sometimes leaders are scared to tell the why, and I've come into that when I've worked with executives also. Oh no, I'm not going to tell them why am I going to make this decision. Well, I'm not, obviously there's some things that, it might not be beneficial for them to know, But if, you know, it's a leader responsibility to discern what kind of things should she or he tell to their following, to the people that they're managing, because in some decisions it gives power to people knowing why we're heading that direction and not the other. It brings more unity. It brings more, you know, just congruency with the actions to know where we're going. That's a visionary leader, right? One of the biggest characteristics of a leader, being visionary and really knowing where we're going and involve other people. And that's all, my friends. If you would like to be part of this study, you're most welcome. We're starting next month. And if you're thinking there's anything I can help you with in terms of your organization, I will be happy to do so as well. And thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time, commitment, dedication to be better. And it's my hope that you go to bed and sleep thinking about how to become a better leader, because we all can get better.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Carolina. How do the folks here on the call get in touch with you? Is there a link you can share with us to an email or a website for you?
That's a great question, right? I did not leave any ways to contact me. Well, my website is Rewire Leader, but you'll find it in Spanish because I transitioned, as I said before. I was working with business and to business. I moved a little bit more and I created my online academy and everything. But you can find me, and I had a website that I put down. I'm working on another one, but let me write in the chat where you can just, I'm gonna type my email. You can also check my website, but it's in Spanish until
Or they can find you all inside of our chat, in the WhatsApp chat, because you are there for almost 1.5 years, but people, they don't know that.
Right. Yes, you can find me on LinkedIn too. Just, you know, Carolina Marin, if you look, and then I'll just shoot my email.
And you have to also to let everybody know that you're not a tennis player, okay?
There's oh yes, I know.
You're all over. Like when I put your names to look for different pictures to create a different thing, like it was only like the tennis player. I'm like, okay, she's not a tennis player.
Yes, exactly. I know. It's a bummer. I'm
Yeah.
not. Yeah.
But, you know, I put there Carolina Marin, John Maxwell, and I found you. But if I put your name only, it was just a tennis player.
This is, yeah.
Everything about her. I learned a lot about her already. Who she beat and everything. But anyway, I think it was, you know, it is very interesting about leadership, and I think it's a very great subject for everybody to know. And if anybody has any question right now, this is a great moment to ask. We're about to wrap up. I would like to only give the opportunity. So if anybody has a question, please do so right now. Nobody has any questions? It's good. It means she was very clear. Eileen, no question? No? Okay. Good. No question. Good. Troy has no question. Nobody has a question. Good. Anyhow, I do have a question. So
maybe we can do a part 2, Peter, like in the fall.
Yeah, we can do that. Absolutely, we can do that. You know, we can go more in depth next time. So we're gonna get like a subject that we're gonna be able to talk about, and you know, make like a breakdown of all the options that it can be instead of the leadership. What kind of leadership is gonna work for each, I would say, company or business.
Right.
We have different kind of leaderships, and to learn about those ones and to kind of break it down. However, the whole point that I'm trying to kind of just wrap it in a question, it is like, what would you suggest as a person that understands leadership that a person should do or should change for them to become better as a business, as an entrepreneur, and to be like more like on the idea of creating a discipline in leading?
Mhm.
So what do you think it should be that those things, those like ABC that they have to follow to get to that point of being disciplined and leading in any situation? I don't
Well,
know.
leadership, yeah, that's a great question. Leadership is influence. Like the moment we are just showing up on time, and when I say on time, I mean prior to the hour that you said you're going to be, showing up with a smile on your face. That's a way to show great leadership. Um, really working on yourself first, and it's the most difficult thing. The most difficult person to lead in this room is myself. That's the most difficult person to lead, but it all comes down to discipline, to saying I'm going to do this and follow up with your actions. And it's a habit. I had a difficult habit to just following my word. And when I read the book of the Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz, I understood how important it is to be impeccable with my word. And as a leader, the way I lead my life will show in my results. And I just cannot pretend to live my life a certain way and then lead my teams in another way. So I would say, and it's the most simple and hardest thing to do, discipline. Discipline, looking at your calendar, starting the day before your day, looking at what is waiting for me tomorrow, right? What am I what am I going to do tomorrow? Obviously, taking reflection time in the week, looking at, how things are going, how things can get better, what did I learn, how can I improve, doing that period of reflection and be disciplined with our actions. If we have a good hold on that, we're going to be great leaders, because it's not going to be as difficult to really help others on, how to do their things in the way that will benefit them and the organization.
Okay.
And increasing our level of frustration too, I'll say, because sometimes it's just we get frustrated and it's hard to get back on track, and then you can go and look for that instant reward. So I would say, like, increase your level of frustration and decrease your instant gratification,
Mhm.
like modeling that to your team.
Yeah. Circumstances are not uh, change, changing the man. He's just revealing to himself. All the circumstances that goes to our in our front situations, they are not changing us. They're not making us differently. We just find more about ourselves, and some of those situations can be frustrating. However, I think through good discipline, you can get to a point that you can control those thoughts and those emotions that is going to be to the moment that it's of challenge.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Karina, one more time. And if anybody wants to see this one, we're gonna post it next week, hopefully in a side of the YouTube, our YouTube channel. So everything that we have until now and everything we're gonna do from now on, everything's gonna be in the YouTube. So everybody can go to see that, subscribe, and watch everything we have there. And thank you very much one more time for being here with us, Carolina. And thank you everybody for joining us. And we're looking forward for the next Sunday. We're gonna have some more value and some more learning tools to get better and to grow and to develop ourselves as a leader, as a entrepreneur, and as a person that I would say can change other people's lives.
Thank you
Agreed,
so much.
Peter. Thank you once again, Carolina. Thank you, everybody. Everybody have a fantastic week, and we will see you back here next Sunday. Take care.
Ruthie, thank
Bye
you.
bye. Thank you.